This is the Comedy Kiosk, podcast by Monday and Munoz. Please welcome Monday and Munoz.
Welcome to the Comedy Kiosk, a podcast in which we discuss news, opinions, and ideas about comedy. I'm David Munoz, and with me, as always, is...
It's Igor Monday. Okay.
Good. And today's topic is 5 years after COVID, what has changed? Or what hasn't changed? Igor, why the hell are we talking about COVID again? I thought we were over it. I thought we didn't have to think about it anymore. It was a dark period. It was the medieval ages of the 21st century. It was something that we could forget about and pretend it never happened. Why are we reliving this moment, Igor? Why?
Well, first of all, it's only been 5 years, but at the same time, it's already been 5 years, right? Like it's kind of feels, to me, feels both. Like it's kind of feels fresh, like it was just the other day. But at the same time, you know, how the whole world stopped and changed and everything. Now it feels like it was like centuries ago, like not 5 years ago.
So it's like that tipping point. It's like that. It's young, it's old, it's young. I don't know. It's like someone in their mid to late 30s. It's like you're young, but you're getting old, but you're old, but you're young. What happens? You hit 40, next minute, boom, old man. Middle age. There you go.
So that's what COVID is soon to be, like an old man, I think.
Yeah,
but it's still like relatively, I would say, recent history, right? And also, if you remember, our very first episode of this podcast was about like comedy in lockdown, and comedy during COVID times and stuff, because we recorded it, I think, January 2021 or something like this.
Holy crap!
Right after that year. Yeah, so this has also been going on for quite a long time, believe it or not.
Tipping
so
point.
Thank you, listeners. If you're still with us, or if you're new, go back and listen to all of those episodes in the kind of back catalog that we have. But yeah, so that's how we started, and now it's been like, I mean, that's the topic that we started on, and now it's been 5 years. And we have live shows again. We have all the like festivals back and rooms full of people and everything. But I still like here and there, I see some like remnants of those times, you know, like some online shows pop up here and there. I meet some people in real life that I have met during the online shows. You know, still, even when but also it's interesting just to have like a hindsight and like a retrospective look onto that period, you know, because what were we really doing then and how we were doing all those things, I think was quite remarkable, you know, just to keep the art and the entertainment and everything, like to keep the spirits up and to keep things going. So let's start with basically just a quick overview, right? So
set the scene. Set the scene. We were doing shows on a weekly basis, sometimes 2, maybe 3, and things were going great, swimmingly, wonderful. We were getting more and more people. We were the next new flavor thing. We were selling out shows for the first time. Things were pumping. Things were going. People were coming on a regular basis. We were selling out. Everything was going great. And then all of a sudden, this dark cloud started to manifest. There were whispers. There were in the wind. There were rumors being floated around that something was coming. Something dark and ominous. Ooh. At this point, no one knew what was coming. We thought, no, be damned with it all. We're having a great time. We're on the up and up. We may even expand the club. We may even try to get the second room in the cafe, the one next door, and try to expand our comedy circles. I don't know if we're actually doing this. I'm just adding it because it makes it more dramatic. But anyway, let's go. So we were thinking of expanding. Things were going wonderful. And then all of a sudden, dun, 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 lockdown.
And that's more or less exactly how it was. We were running very successful like weekly shows, and at that point we started also looking into our own club, which then happened later after the lockdown finished and everything. But it was supposed to happen then, just like March 2020, when we also like a few of us just came back from a very successful Northern European tour as well, like Scandinavia.
So you brought COVID to us, damn it.
Listen, we'll never know, and I will not, you know, like admit nor deny that. It's, you know, like what do you call it, like something plausibility, deniable plus something.
Yeah, plausible deniability. Yeah,
that's the one. That's the one. So, but I don't think so. But still, yeah. And you heard all these like rumors. Oh, there's a pandemic. Like it wasn't a pandemic back then. It was just like there's something happening, you know. And some people are getting it here and there. And yeah, like a week later.
But it won't reach us. But it won't reach us.
Yeah.
We're different. Yeah, we're special because it doesn't get.
But we had those scares like a few times, you know, like swine flu and this and that, like cow's madness and whatever. Like we're random diseases that in the end turned out to be like not so like dangerous or viral or whatever. But yeah, it's just, you know, like we kept doing shows until it was the first thing I think that came was the recommendation. Not even like there was no lockdown. It was just, you know, we kind of recommend not gathering people in large numbers. And immediately we said, okay, we don't want to participate in spreading the virus further. So we canceled the shows. And then maybe 10 days later, the official government lockdown started, which was supposed to be 2 weeks, lasted for 3.5 months, whatever. But that's, you know, like everyone knows the story. And I think a lot of people that have listened to this podcast before also know our story, because very soon after that, we started doing online shows. Yeah. And first we did a few, I think for like a month and a half, paid shows, actually, kind of like lineup shows, feature shows. And then we just decided to do like Zoom open mics. We also found that many other people are doing the same thing around the world. There was even like there were a few Facebook groups, some like sign up and like Excel sheets with all the shows listed, all the dates they run on, the local times, the links to join that show. You know, people really took time to organize all of that and, you know, to kind of systemize all of that. Yeah. And that ran for like during duration of our lockdown, and a lot of like European countries and so on had a lockdown of around like 3-4 months. Some countries like the UK, I don't know, a year and a half. Some countries like Australia, 2 and something years. And I was surprised to find out, and you are also, I think, a member of some of those groups on Facebook, that some of those open mics and Zoom shows still go on.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where this sort of topic came up, was us noticing like, hey, did you see? Yeah. So yeah, they still are, and they're still putting on shows. Like one of the groups is Displaced Comedians. And they're still putting on like the Zoom shows, or maybe it's Team Meets now. I don't know what platform they're using. But, you know, I still see it, and people looking for it. People are like, hey, is there an open mic on thing? Like people asking for it. So obviously they must have like at least a little bit of a following or something like that. Or maybe it's.
But why do you think that is? Because I understand why in lockdown, you know, bored people, I mean, like audience, and also stage craving comedians would like join those, and even comedians had their own where they would do like writing and workshops and whatever, you know, and right after COVID, even when it was possible to meet in person, some things also stayed online. Like I know a lot of people that kept working, you know, remotely and online and so on, because yes, you can do a lot of things without physically having to spend like 40 minutes in traffic to meet or to fly to another city and whatever. But nowadays, I think, again, you can go and see live stand-up in most places around the world, especially, you know, places like the US, UK, whatever. Why do you think people are still interested in organizing and attending online shows? Like what's going on there?
Well, I think it's like you said also, like, about, you know, certain opportunities opened up. Like, you know, you were talking about different industries, like even teaching English. Now there's online only sort of platforms to learn English or to learn any language. So I think one of them is the when something new opens up, it doesn't completely disappear. So obviously I think it's diminished, but it hasn't completely disappeared because there are people who actually like that format. They like the fact, maybe for a number of reasons. So various reasons I can think of. One, people who don't like going out in public. They really are truly introverted. And I don't mean introverted like, oh my God, I'm such an introvert. Let me tell you my life story. And you're like, no, you're not. Like proper introverts who really don't like going out in public. I know a few people like that. And they don't really go out much because they just... not exactly agoraphobic, but there's a little bit of that. They just feel anxiety going out in public. They don't feel comfortable.
Agorophobic?
Agoraphobic.
Oh, okay. I thought it's just a group of people who are afraid of me.
Well, there's that group too.
Igoraphobic.
That's that group too,
Okay.
and they also stay indoors just in case they bump into you. But that's their
Fair
own
enough.
that's their own reason. But the thing is, so there are people who maybe not to that extreme, but they feel anxiety. So doing something like this is that nice little escape, like a way of avoiding going out in public. They're like, oh Christ. So there's people like that. Another one I could imagine is imagine if you're in a small town or you're in a place that doesn't have stand up. There is no stand up going on. Like before I came here to Alicante, there was no stand up in English. In which case, if I really want to watch something, I might start looking online. And if something online pops up, I might go, oh, you know what? Yeah, why not? Let's just, grab a bottle of wine and watch it like a stand up show sort of thing. Like, it's not quite the same as a live atmosphere, but it's not watching a taped comedy show either. It's not a special that's been curated. It's a bit more in between, So I think that could be also a factor for some people, is because of the convenience, of the location of where they are. And also it could be like, for example, maybe you do have stand-up, but it's on your own language and you want to watch it in a foreign language, or because, English still has that reputation of being like the original stand-up comedy format sort of thing in English. It's been going on for a lot longer than in other countries. Other countries have been doing it for like 5-7 years now or whatever, maybe close to 10. But English has been doing stand-up for, since the friggin' late 1800s. So as a format, vaudeville act and stuff. So it has more of a reputation. It has more of a like coolness association to it, I suppose. And it has more of an evolutionary, so you can find many different formats. So I think that could be all factors as to why online comedy is still a thing. It has never really fully disappeared. I don't know. What do you reckon?
So you would say it's like accessibility, right, to comedy. Either you are not super keen on going out in public and mingling and whatever, or you don't have that opportunity in your city or region or whatever, or maybe you have some limited mobility or something like this as well. And this is a way of seeing, let's call it live stand-up, live comedy that's not like heavily edited, that's not heavily produced. That makes sense. And I think for that group of people, that's an amazing opportunity. You do get, let's say, live comedy in your home on your screen, which is great. I also think it might be a part of that. It might be also one of the reasons why I enjoyed doing those shows. The biggest reason, I think, was because we were providing relief to people, just entertainment and something to get their mind off during that very kind of challenging and let's like say scary and dangerous period. But the other thing was that we were meeting people from around the world. Like I've never had a chance to perform in a club in California until I did it online. Like, I mean, hopefully one day I do it in person. I fly there and I perform there. But I've never done like, a stage in LA or whatever. And I've done it online. And it's, I mean, the stage was not in LA. It was, organized by a club from California, but the audience and the local comedians and stuff. So you suddenly had this reach and exposure where you're not only talking about like some local things to your local like audience members and peers, I would say, but you're like reaching the whole world. And that was also amazing because, I don't know how, like, I can write a joke about like, oh, I'm a Croatian guy and when I travel around Europe, this happened, right? But I don't know how this will resonate with like people from, Uruguay or people from like Singapore. But on these kind of shows, it was the first time I had a chance to actually see that, how they would react, and is that funny to them as well. And I think partially people still do that because of that like international and global reach as well. So would you then say that in your opinion, and also run shows and see like other shows around town popping up and everything, do you think that we came back to the same let's say level and volume and everything as it was before COVID? Or do you think that, so if like there is still some comedy online, it means that let's say 80% came back to real rooms, live comedy, and some things like just stayed online?
Well, I don't know. I think, also keeping in mind I'm in Spain, which is a very social, people really go out sort of thing. Like, this place is, the culture here is very much going to bar, like even, with kids and everything. I've had kids at my show. It's just like, oh, okay. So I think it's the vibe that I get is like, yeah, it came back. People just started going out. So I think that kind of 100% returned. But it gave the opportunity, I think, for those that maybe wouldn't have come anyway, the opportunity to do it, to go to a show without having to go to a show. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I think it's that added extra. It's that niche little thing on the side. It became a little niche thing, and it's for those people who probably wouldn't have come to the show anyway. I mean, they might have, but they might have only done it once or twice at most, and then like that's it. Like still don't feel comfortable. Like okay, it was an experience, but this way they get to.
So you wouldn't say that it replaced.
No.
You know, like in-person comedy, I would say just added another format for it.
Exactly.
So now there is in-person comedy and there is online events sometimes as well.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's exactly what happened. But my question I want to have for you now is, so we're looking at it from the audience perspective, right? So why is audience members, doing this? What's the appeal and stuff? What is it for comedians to perform on these, on these online shows? Why? Why don't comedians just go to a club or, like me, start their own scene in person in a place and fill it with seats? Why the online format? What do you think?
Well, as I think the part of it is what I just talked about, that you get a much bigger reach.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can perform for a person in New Zealand and I can immediately know, does my joke work for that market? Mm-hmm. And it's not like a Kiwi that, let's say, lives in Croatia or I met in Berlin or something, because that's already a Kiwi that knows about like the, let's say, European ways and this and that.
Right.
But, an actual person living and watching from somewhere in, let's say, rural Auckland, whatever, I get to like...
Auckland, you are rural. What the
No, I mean like... I meant around like rural areas.
No. That's about right. Auckland is kind of rural. Yeah, not really. All of New Zealand is. Yeah.
So
sheep on the streets, just roaming around. People in galoshes, just wading through and just walking around like with straw in their mouth, like just she's gonna go. Yes, there's a storm coming.
Listen, keep your Australian hate to yourself. But so like I've never had this opportunity. I think that's part of the reason. I think the other part of the reason is also, as you said, like, oh, why don't you just start a scene? I think it takes a very particular person to actually be able to start up something or to try at least and to produce shows and so on. I've done it here, you've done it there, but I think if I gave up and said I don't want to run English comedy here anymore, that's it. That would be the end of English comedy. I'm sure some people would try, and maybe some people would take it over from me, and I would give them all the like access to socials, branding, everything. And if I decide to pull out, but I don't, like 90% of the comedians don't want to be producers, they just want to come and perform. So if there is nothing happening in your town and you see an online show, I'll just hop on that, right? So I think that's again the like accessibility and the availability of it all. But talking about like when I mentioned, do you think that things went back to the same level or way they were before? Why I'm asking is because I feel like the whole entertainment industry actually quite changed. For example, I think, let's say, cinemas. I don't think people have gone back to the same like numbers and everything. You can see that in Hollywood, like before COVID, these kind of, I think the quality also dropped and everything, but that's like a different topic. But in like 2017, you could see like a random spin-off, like something, two random characters from Fast and Furious now have their own movie, and it's in cinemas, and it makes like $1.3 billion because people just go out and see it. And nowadays you have a huge movie, like something like, I don't know, Indiana Jones. I mean, like a famous franchise blockbuster thing, whatever, and it makes like 300 million and barely breaks, or it doesn't break even and stuff. Because I think people got used to just watching stuff on their couch and just waiting for things to come out digitally. And things got also really expensive. I think the cinema tickets and also stand-up tickets, like the prices like really increased and stuff. And there is a lot of, like, not to talk about movies, but about like, let's say live comedy and stand-up in particular. I think also during that period, a lot of people started putting their clips online, their like bits, and especially their crowd work and stuff. So now you can like scroll through TikTok and laugh. Just see all those bits, like recorded and published. And, there is a lot of stuff on YouTube, obviously, on Netflix, even more than before. So, and like that's what's available online. And then in real life, things got really expensive. So like I think 2019, if you go to see a comedy show in Croatia, in Zagreb, a ticket would cost you around like 30-40 kunas, which was, let's say, €6. Any like show, even like Croatian English, doesn't matter, even like the biggest stars, I think it was kind of like that, let's say €6. And then a drink was maybe €2.
Right.
So if you go to see a show and you have 2 beers, that's €10.
Yeah.
Right. And you wouldn't go every weekend, you would go once a month, because that was still pricey, like to spend €10. Nowadays, the shows are like 10, 12, 14 euros. Oh. The drink is 4.5.
Right. So you're looking at 20
Depends
something.
what it is. So you're looking at, 20 something per person. So if it's like a couple going, that's, you're spending 50 euros on just watching some live stand up. And especially if it's not, like whatever, someone that and you follow on like socials or something, it's just like some locals, right?
Yeah.
Some just no-name comedians. It's a risky affair, because if you don't like the show, you've just wasted 50 euros.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So I think that the inflation plus the availability again of a lot of online content, I'm not sure that we're hitting the same numbers as before. I cannot say that the shows are empty, like either mine or around Europe, around the world. But I also think that there is a different, let's say again, format now that is available, which is just scrolling through TikToks before bed, and you see like a funny bit and you laugh, and that's it. But you would never, even if that same person was tomorrow in a bar next to your house, you would not go, because you're like, well, I saw this, it's funny, but why would I now pay again like 15 euros or something to go and see him?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean, and I would agree with to a point. Like, I don't know if it's more of a streaming thing. Is what's, like you're talking about cinema, like whether was it COVID or was it really streaming that killed the whole cinema experience? And I think what happens is it's streaming. However, when COVID happened, we all had to use streaming services to kind of get, and a lot of people went, oh, actually, I like this. I don't have to go to the cinema. I don't have to, whatever. That sort of thing. And for even after like the whole lockdown's finished and stuff, and we were able to go to the cinema, a lot of people still felt kind of uncomfortable for a couple of years, like meeting in a big area like that. Like, they were like, nah, I'd rather not. I just stay at home. And it gave us an excuse to stay at home because we had this option there. And maybe that's what's happened sort of with the stand-up. Like I was saying before, those people who get a little bit of social anxiety, or just people who are truly introverted, not any anxiety or anything. They're just introverts. They'd rather just stay. If they got the option to stay at home, then why not? So they're homebodies. So that could be that sort of situation as well. I also think, I was just kind of thinking like, if we look at like the live scene, especially in places like us, in our places where we kind of started something, then it's we've discussed it before, where the people who come to the shows, it fluctuates the audience. So in the beginning of this year, 2 sold out shows, and now it's starting to drop. Today I have a show and I've only got 8 tickets sold at this point. I've heard that there are some people who are going to show up at the door, but at this point it's like 8 tickets sold. Now the show is fluctuating, and sometimes you just don't get a big audience. So maybe with the online shows, even though 1 or 2 people from this place, another 1 person from this place, maybe overall it adds up that these people, I don't know how many people are actually showing up, and if we have any listener actually has this experience of going to these shows, can tell us approximately how many people are there, or is it just comedians performing to each other? Because I remember people complaining about that, like in a couple of shows they went to, especially towards the end, like people who try to continue on were like, it was just comedians performing to comedians. That's what it ended up being. It was very much like a workshop. Or are there actual real audience members where maybe if I set up an online comedy show here, I can get people from like at least my part of the world. If I perform at like I'd put on a show for 7 o'clock in the evening, or let's say 10 o'clock in the evening, somewhere between there, I can get people from Spain, Portugal, from France, from Germany, from Italy, maybe from Greece, things like that. Like just being in Spain, I have all of Europe, most of Europe, within an hour or 2 time difference that can, come to my show. So even if I only get like 1 person from Madrid, 2 people from Barcelona, 3 people from Paris, 1 person from Marseille, another 2 from Berlin, like logging in. At the end, I end up with actually more people than in a live show because I can only appeal to the people in my local area, and I'm in a small city, so there's not that much opportunity of those that speak English and things. So maybe the online shows, also the other reason why they've kind of stayed a little bit alive is because there actually is like a bonus to it. Like if you can get 1 or 2 dribs and drabs from different little areas, it actually adds up.
Well, I know people are for a while, like the kind of last few months, or depending where you were, maybe the last year of like COVID and stuff, that people were doing these hybrid shows as well, where you like have an audience, but you also stream it. So let's say like you charge, I don't know, £10 in person, you charge, let's say 5 or 6 to like access the streaming thing, because it was meant for those people who cannot physically attend but still want to see that show. So I don't know how that would work in today's world, like 5 years after it was a necessity. Maybe some people will join, as you say, like, and also I have and you have a lot of like relatives, family, friends and stuff from around the world, right? So maybe sometimes they will join just to see me or some other comedian that's an American comedian living in Croatia, or like a Chinese comedian traveling the world or whatever. Well, they probably couldn't watch it in China, but like what I mean is it could just give access to, because I know a lot of my resident comics, I see when I post a video of them or something, some of their friends or family, they comment, "Oh my God, where can I, like, when will you perform it at home?" Or "It's such a shame I cannot be there to see it," or something like this. So it could just open up this possibility to people from around the world. But I think still in today's world, if you put on the poster, like €10 show, €5 to watch online, I think people would be confused. They would be like, what is there? Is he still using the poster from 2021? Like it's kind of, because I think today's world, I think we think that we've moved like past COVID, but as I say, I notice in real life that there is still like this, let's say, change, and especially in terms of like, let's say, cinema and things like that. But then would you say that you've changed somehow as a like pre-COVID and post-COVID comedian? Has it affected you in any way? Have you like learned something new, or just considered a different aspect of it or something? Because for me, I think first of all, it gave me that opportunity to test my jokes against like people from around the world, which was a good, let's say, confidence boost. Because like I did one of these online shows, as I said, for like a very well-known comedy club in California, and it was, I think, like 6 or 7 of their residents, which is like all, let's say, fairly established, locally established American comedians, and maybe like 10-15 audience members or something in the room. But I did my like 10-minute or whatever set. I made them laugh, and even after the show, they're like, "Oh, it's such a breath of fresh air because it's something different." And we usually get more or less the same type of humor here and stuff. And it's really nice to, let's say, well, it's one example, but to at least check if you are funny in some other like parts of the world, or subcultures, or languages, or whatever. And also for me, it was just the people, just like networking kind of thing, because I've met a few people that we've done online shows with, and to this day, like last year, October or whatever, I did a show in Brussels in Belgium, and it was produced by one of the guys that did our like online open mic regularly. And we had like basically 5 years later we meet in person, and he's like having me on his shows and helping me with some other shows and whatever. Cool. And we had a little like chat and catch up, and like how it was a wild period, and how we still keep meeting people from that time, that it kind of unified people, for better or for worse, in a specific way. And I feel in comedy it's very good to be connected. Like networking is everything. It's good to know people from here and there and to share experiences, and this gave us that opportunity. So again, I would say, plus I think it's a very, like, the way we approach this immediately, like the lockdown was happening maybe for a week, and we already set up like online shows, got like the promotion, got the people. It's a very I think it pushed us to test our, like creativity and everything. And, it's suddenly you're performing. I did a show recently and it was like a holiday and everything just didn't work for the show. And we ended up having 5 people in the room.
Yeah.
And it's like a big room as well. So it was 5 people in the room. And I did my set the same as I would for 500 people.
Yeah.
And the way I did it is not because I'm such an amazing comedian, is because 5 years ago, I did every set like that. Because even when we had like, I think 40, 50 people on Zoom, we had to mute them all because it keeps interrupting if you have them, you know. So basically, you only see yourself on the kind of main camera and everyone is muted and you just do the joke. You wait a bit, you assume they're laughing and you continue.
Yeah.
And that taught me how to deal with like empty or silent rooms, because you just don't rush through it. You still keep your pace. You still wait for because even if it's 5 people, maybe one person wants to laugh. So you have to give them that, pause for laughter kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I really think that at the end of the day, it was kind of useful. And for me, like, it was networking. It was, reaching new audiences, and it was learning how to perform to yourself basically, Mm-hmm. I don't know about yourself. Like, do you feel like you've come out as a different man, as a changed comedian?
No. I don't know. I haven't really given it much of a thought. I don't think so as such. No. I mean, it was an interesting experience. If anything, it just, showed that, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. Like, you can set up a show, you can do that stuff like that. So that sort of stuff was interesting. Performing to a muted room was you kind of got used to the silence. If anything, it was kind of it was a helpful tool for like when you die on stage or if something's not going your way, you can just basically go, oh, okay. So, because it kind of felt like that for a while. You had to kind of just trust that you were going okay with it and you were looking, but we still had the visual icons. People were doing the clap emojis and things like that. So there was some sort of feedback that you were doing well, but we just took it from visual rather than laughter. So I would say that, but overall, no, not really. I mean, it was interesting, but it was like, it was a little snapshot. Like you said, performing overseas, it was cool. Like I did one show for a San Francisco club and that was really awesome. I believe the organizer was a woman called, I think, Kate Ritchie. I still follow her on Facebook technically, sort of still see little bits about her life and things. It's interesting, but the point is, like, it was cool, and we had one of the comedians come over and perform with us from that group. And that was fascinating to hear stuff from a different cultural background because, different styles of comedy, different things. Like you said, it was innovative. But at the end of the day, we were kind of, I don't know if it had that much of an influence on me yet. I still think if I ever make it to Edinburgh or any other, or even just London or an American city and get to perform comedy there, I think doing it in person will be the real test. It'll be like let's see how we go, whether people are genuinely interested, funny and gimmicky. That would be, and this was another thing I was going to say, that maybe why some comedians still like the online shows. One, it's a place where they can test material a little bit. Also for comedians, because I get a lot of people who kind of go, I'm kind of interested, but I don't know about getting in front of a crowd. It's sort of like a way to dip the toes for people who aren't that ready to just perform in front of a live crowd yet. Maybe that silent room is actually kind of nice for them because then it takes off that bit of pressure. Like you would just assume that they're laughing or you just do your bit. So I think that can have an effect as well. I
think exactly, and as you mentioned that there are some not only shows but like workshops going on to this day and stuff. I think that's really great because even like with my, let's say 10, 12 or whatever, 15 comedians in the roster here in one city, sometimes I say, hey guys, do you want to meet before the show, like 2 hours before the show, and just workshop, and shoot shit and, go through your new ideas and material. And people are like, oh, I don't have like a transport at that time, or, oh, I'm kind of like under the weather a bit. I don't think I'll make it and this and that. And if we just did it online, people could just join in and that's it. And even for myself, if I connect and I see like in the first 10 minutes, no one else joins, I just go about my day, right? But if I have to physically take time to go to the club and I wait and no one shows up, then I've just wasted my afternoon, right? So I think like the online thing can still be super beneficial for workshops and things like that, and for maybe connecting people as well. But yeah, I see that appeal to this day. So I would say there are still some relics of the era of the pandemic and lockdown and stuff. And I think for you, as you say, that it didn't really change you personally. You are a very like theatrical comedian, right? So like for you, I think to sit in front of, because in the beginning we actually did those shows as shows, and I remember like I was always like standing up and I had this curtain behind me and a microphone, and you wanted to perform because that's how you are used to doing it, right?
I kept that the whole time. I never took that off.
Yeah, I remember. But some people, still just kind of sat down and talked basically, and it was more like a either a podcast or like a table read or something like that thing. So, I think for you, that's why you have to be on the stage, and you have to have, the space to do your like physicality and expressiveness and everything. For some other people, especially for like deadpan or whatever, one-liners, you just sit there and read it. So it kind of works a bit differently. But yeah, interesting. It's interesting to kind of even think of that time, because 5 years, not a lot, but also not nothing. And as our very first episode was exactly about that, I think it's very interesting to compare those times and to see, do we still do things as we did for that brief period of time, and hopefully we will never have to do that again unless we really want to.
Yeah, hopefully now it's not forced. It's a choice. Now it's a choice.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. It's a choice. If you want to do it online, there's options, there's opportunities. It's still being done. So it's a choice. And if you want to take that choice, if it suits you, fantastic. If not, then come to the live shows and come to one of ours if you can. Just grab a plane, go to Zagreb or come to Alicante and just come for the show.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments if you do join, if you're a comedian and you join any of those online shows, or if you're an audience member and you're stuck somewhere in a remote place in rural Auckland, maybe, I don't know, where you don't have a chance to see live shows. Would you join online shows? Would you, like stream anything that, would just let us know if you still use any of those things that actually became useful and popular during COVID, and are there any local shows still done like that? And do you see a change in your local scene as well? And of course, you can follow us on all the social media, like us, share us, invite friends to listen to us, and come back for another episode of the Comedy Kiosk. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Igor Monday,
and I'm David Munoz.
Thank you and goodbye.
Ciao.